Alright, hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is Rob here at Smirking Gun Reviews, back to talk more new comics for this week. And today we're talking about Star Wars number 2 by Charles Soule and Jesus Saez. The continuing story that of what took place between Empire and Return of the Jedi. This is a new imagining of those stories because in regular canon before Disney bought Star Wars, we had stories like Shadows of the Empire and things like that. And it's, for a lot of people, I feel like this is going to be a very hard transition to settle with. Like, I myself find Shadows of the Empire to be one of the greatest Star Wars books I've ever read. And so they made all the books not canon, and now they're starting off. And if you've made the decision that you can't do it, then that's fine. It's hard for me to as well, but I've come to own the realization that this is just how it is. So, can they make a good story that can replace that book that I love? And so far, they're doing something kind of interesting with it. And with a writer like Soule involved, it's doing a pretty decent job reimagining that storyline. Now, I also love this cover by Silva. Unfortunately, Silva doesn't do the art. And while I liked the art in the first issue, I feel like the art kind of takes a step back a little bit here. I still think they have a really hard time, that Jesus has a really hard time drawing Wookiees, but I think Wookiees are hard to draw. But that being, and just some of the way that I thought that they looked kind of real, like, well, not real, but like more accurate to the characters in the movies that was in the first issue. This one, there's a lot going on, and it feels just a little more, I don't know, just a little less polished to me. But in a big part of this book is Lando trying to prove himself, that he can prove to Leia and Luke and everybody that he wants to fix what happened, right? And again, from the books, we know that this goes a different way. But in this book, Lando jumps ahead. He's like, well, what if we get ahead of this whole thing? What if we get to Jabba the Hutt before Boba Fett sells him to him? And, we can make deals with him. And so, and find out if Boba Fett's already sold Han to Jabba. And he's using his whole, I've got friends everywhere, I've got contacts everywhere. And from what we know of what happens in Return of the Jedi, because they're not rewriting that, that's still canon at least. God, can you imagine if they just decided to remake the fucking originals? So anyway, and I don't mean like special editions, but in this, they take him up on it. And I do love this whole, like, where they're talking about Han, and Leia has got that pause here in the corner, thinking about Han and his last words to her, I know, which is pretty cool. In the meantime, this is Luke getting a new hand, and he's, talking about his place and things, that, I can help too, but even Lando's like, man, I think you're kind of having problems with the Force right now. And even Luke knows it. The only thing that I didn't like is that they go from him having no hand to having his hand, and they don't kind of go through that process. They don't show, like, how weird it would be for him to get his hand back and things like that. So I feel like they jumped past a kind of an important part of the story for Luke, which is just getting it back. And that connection to how Vader, is mostly machine now, and that connection he would feel to his father, that, I don't know, I think that's a missed opportunity here. But Lando and Chewie get to Tatooine, where they're immediately found by a whole squadron of, like, TIE fighters. There's like 9 of them there. And they're like, yeah, you guys made some enemies, in this ship, and now they're all over it. But they're immediately saved by a bunch of, like, mercenaries, bounty hunters, who are looking to capitalize on the Millennium Falcon, because they all recognize it. They all know Han is wanted. And so I like that they always got their hands up, their hands in their faces, like, oh my God, what else can go wrong? But Lando says, hey man, Han's not here. This is my ship, and we're going to go down to Jabba's palace, and make a deal, and if you help us out, you can be in on that deal. And so he also puts like the torpedo or the missile launcher on them, even though they have no missiles. And so they accept it, and Lando kind of feels cocky again, like, oh yeah, see, I told you everything's working right. But there's also a moment, I don't know if it's here yet. No, it's not here yet, that we're going to get to. There's some stuff with the rebellion in here that just, to me, honestly, is just fine. It's basically like the scene in Jedi where they're, getting ready to go after the second Death Star kind of scene, where they're just, we got to gather our forces, we got to find out how many of our people out there know that the Empire can trace us. But the more interesting story here really is Lando going to Jabba's palace, where he's, trying to find information on Boba Fett. And Bib Fortuna comes up to him and says, Jabba, we'll see you now. And this is where Lando finds out about the deal that Jabba's already got with the Empire. And then Jabba starts to create terms for Lando. So the deal's already gone sideways for him. And they want, they want the Millennium Falcon. The deal's getting worse all the time. No matter where Lando goes, his deals just keep falling through. And his old contacts seem to not be working as much. So he's feeling the pressure of, oh God, what did I get myself into? I can't, he just wants to run. He just wants to bail. And so he ends up back on the ship, making a deal. And he tells Jabba, I've been spending time with the rebellion. So he wants to be like Jabba's spy for the rebellion, or to him, what can be valuable to that end. And he gets away. And he's like, oh, it went just fine. Jabba doesn't have Han yet. Boba Fett hasn't been around. Means we can focus our attention on tracking him down. But he's like, your friends don't want me around. So what do you say you just drop me off somewhere, man? Let me just get out of this. I got friends everywhere, which clearly he does not. So he's already trying to run. And he's like, I've got friends everywhere. And Chewbacca goes like, Rrr? He's like, not on this ship. What, you're saying we're not friends? That's cold, Chewbacca. Ice cold. And Chewie just gives him this look, like, really? You're going to say ice cold after what you just did to Han? Ice cold? He's like, oh yeah. Han. Yeah, poor choice of words. Sorry. So Lando's a dick. So Luke's training with his blaster. He's trying to explain, if I can get good with a blaster, get used to my new hand. And Lando, again, this is where he says to him, yeah, I thought I was a good gambler, as you'll ever meet. But I know a bluff when I see one. You and the Force ain't on friendly terms right now. He's like, what do you want, Lando? He's like, your fight with Leia and the rebel leaders, I need to get back to Cloud City and they'll never let me go. But if you say you need me as your guide, why would I ever go back there? And he tells him, well, Luke, I know that place like the back of my hand, and I know lightsabers are hard to come by, and I know where yours fell when your hand cut off. So if you let me go back to Cloud City, this is his runaway plan. Get back and try to get Cloud City back from the Empire, which I don't know about all that. He can help him find his lightsaber. And so he goes. He's like, Luke kind of zones out, because all of a sudden he gets that vision of the hand getting cut off and the lightsaber going, and then all of a sudden he hears Skywalker in his head, and a hand grabbing the lightsaber out of the air while his hand continues to fall. So who was there when his hand got cut off and was able to take it? Well, another mystery man in robes saying, it's cool, follow your destiny. So I don't know who that is. I have no idea who it could be. It's not a Force ghost. It's somebody who's been following the situation, and it puts an interesting wrinkle. Now, if it just turns out to be, like I said, like in Avengers of the Wasteland review, just some fucking guy, then whatever. At least, hopefully they make it an interesting character. If anybody has any theories on who that will be, I don't know. Maybe it's Dash Rendar. No, it's not Dash Rendar. Jesus Christ. But anyway, I am looking. It makes me intrigued. It has a great hook at the end there to make you go, "Oh, I got to read the next issue." But hopefully they don't just rely on things like that to get you to come back. So anyway, if you liked this review, please hit the like button, comment, share, subscribe. Consider subscribing if you're not a subscriber to the channel. We do movies, TVs, game streams, everything in between as much as I can right now. Channel's kind of in a wonky place with me with my anxiety issues causing a lot of problems with my ability to focus on my channel and my work and everything else that's going on. So blah, 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 blah. Shut up. You can find me on Twitter at reviews_gun. Otherwise, keep reading comics, and we will see you on the next video. Bye.